Welcome to the AI Agent Montreal Meetup. Today we have the amazing opportunity to have you, Javier, for the talk, The Great AI Spec-Driven Illusion, Why Developer Must Remain Architect. Like you know, our community is for people curious about AI, and we want to demystify and spread and share best practices and tools around it. The talk is recorded, and I will share it on our YouTube channel, so feel free to see it again after if you want. And that's it. The place is yours, Javier. Just if you have a question, you can ask on the Q&A or in the chat directly. And I will open. You can open your mic. It's an interactive talk, so you can interact directly with Javier if you want. So that's it. The place is yours, Javier.
Thank you. So yeah, this is going to be, I hope it's not going to be like a formal presentation and I'm going to talk all the time. I want to ask you questions, and the idea is basically having a discussion about this.
Yeah.
The main goal of this talk is trying to understand the problems of developing things and not understanding them. What means that, basically? And for doing that, our idea, or my idea, because I'm the one that's doing this, it's to use the Mars rover kata. Have you done the Mars rover kata? Anyone who has tried in the past playing with that kata?
You can
The Mars rover.
all mic are open, so you can interact directly for all attendees if you want.
Yeah. So please tell me who has done that kata in the past, and who didn't know anything about the kata.
Can you elaborate on that? What is the name of that?
Mars rover.
Maybe you can share it on the chat, Javier.
Yeah, for sure. Let's put it in the chat. The Mars rover kata.
So for
Have
attendees
you heard about that?
that judge join us, all mic is open, so you can interact directly.
Yeah, people don't know anything about the kata. That's better, because let's for one moment, this is a kata. If you search in internet for that one in Google or whatever, it's done everywhere. So there are plenty information about the kata, how it can be solved, all of that. So if I'm going to ask, I'm going to use Copilot CLI. So that's it. If I'm going to, if let's say that I go to the Copilot CLI and I tell Copilot, please fix or solve this kata, what's going to happen? It's going to be solved in 5 minutes, less than that, no? It's simple. But my question for you is, in that scenario, for those people that doesn't know anything about the kata, what have you learned?
Nothing.
Please feel free to answer, whatever you want.
Don't be shy. All mic are open, so you can interact directly if you don't know the kata. The question is what you have learned by just ask to Copilot to solve the kata, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just joined. Can you please explain what's kata?
That's the interesting part. I'm just saying that we are going to play with the kata, the Mars rover kata, but that let's imagine that we are going to use Copilot to solve the kata, okay? And I'm going to prompt Copilot and say, please solve this kata. The Mars rover kata is a kata that you have to go to Mars and all of that, but it doesn't matter. That's not the question. The question is, what are you going to learn if the Copilot is giving you a result after 5 minutes? At that moment, what have you learned about the kata?
Etienne told in the chat, we've learned to offload our mental capabilities. Right?
Okay, that's perfectly fine. So the simple answer is like, you are not going to learn anything. Because at the moment the kata is fixed, is done, you don't know anything about the kata itself. The kata, I was selecting a kata because katas in general are thought to teach people something. So in some way, you are cheating, no? You are trying to learn something, but you are using Copilot and you are not, the result is like you have something working, but you didn't learn anything about how it was solved, the problems that you are going to face, all of that, it's solved. You don't need to care, no? That's the thing that happens when you do this. Yeah. Okay, so in that scenario, there is for me it's interesting that scenario because at that moment when the kata is solved by Copilot, there is a depth between what's happening inside your code and your mind. It's not technical debt, it's the opposite. I'm not going to talk about technical debt now. It's not technical debt, it's just the opposite. No, it's like in the code, there is a knowledge that you don't have in your mind. You don't know anything about the kata, but also you don't know anything about the solution of the kata. And obviously you didn't learn anything. That's a debt. It's a knowledge debt. You know now the same thing that you know before. So nothing related to the solution of the problem.
Garrick said in the chat, you got an output, not an outcome. So the point of the kata is the outcome.
Yeah. That's it. And this is the interesting part. When you build software by hand, sorry.
Yes, isn't one of yes, thank you. Red's asking.
Super.
Hi. Isn't it our responsibility to do a level of discernment on the results and not take the predicate that we don't know what's there? You know, it's up to us to take the time to understand the solution that they put to us.
Yeah. I'm just putting the problem in front of you. It's not that I'm discussing how to solve it. It's like the problem is like if you ask to do something to someone else, it doesn't matter. It's not needed to be AI. It's anything in your life. If you delegate on someone else and that person is doing a job and you don't care about the job itself, you have a debt. You have a knowledge debt against that thing done, no? And you are right. It's
the results are satisfactory or not satisfactory. You're going to look at the results and determine if they're satisfactory. Thank you. All right, I'll let you be. Thank you.
Super. So perfect. That's the thing that we have in front. Okay. When you are building something by yourself, you learn as you go. That's the thing that's happening. It's a side effect on doing things. No, when it doesn't matter. It's not about software. It can be about any part of your life. If you need to fix something, if you need to fix the fridge, you will learn to fix the fridge the first time you fix the fridge. No, it's stupid, but it's what happened. No, learning is a process that happens from a problem until a solution, and in the way you go from that problem to that solution, you learn how to solve it. It's true that perhaps you learn before, so you don't need to learn every time you are doing something. You are just applying the learns that existed before. But learning it's an effect based on causality. No, something happened, you need to fix it, and in the process you learn how to do it.
Yeah,
and
you lose the opportunity to also to teach to another guy.
That's true. That's the thing, no? Okay, so this is like the issue that when you write code, basically you were able to learn from the code that was doing, and that also helps you to understand the problem that was trying to solve. So that you create a model in your mind. You were creating in your mind the model of the application, that how the application needs to be done, no? As you go, no? If we go to the design part of the code, you usually do upfront design. You think this could be done in this way, no? But during the process of developing, you change your mind, and you are probably thinking, okay, in this area that I was thinking this was going to be a module or a class or whatever, it's not a class. That's not the case. I have to change it to another thing because seems to me that I have some coupling or problems related that are visible in the code that helps you to understand that you should change your design. No? In fact, if you think about that, that's technical debt. No? The difference, I was talking about one type of debt, that's knowledge debt. If you don't know what has been done, you have a knowledge debt against the thing that was done. Other people call this cognitive debt. I don't like too much the term cognitive because cognitive is more broad thing. And I think the problem is like, basically you don't know what has been done. So for me, it's more related to knowledge. But in the other side, if you have too much, so basically what I'm trying to say is like, if you have too much knowledge debt, you are not able to create technical debt because you cannot select. You don't know. If basically technical debt, if you think about it, it's the gap between what exists in the code and what's in my mind. Because in my mind, I realize that there is a better way of doing things. No, that's technical debt. That gap is technical debt. But if I have too much knowledge debt, I cannot create the future. I cannot say, in the future, the software needs to be in that way because I don't know how it is right now. I don't have the first dot, so I cannot go to the second one. I'm inventing things if I try to do that. No? That's the risk that we are putting in place if we don't understand what has been done by machines, by the genie, by whatever you call it as you want, the AI, whatever. And so basically what I'm saying is like, you cannot evolve your system. If you don't read your code, and let's start by talking by the simple thing that you need to do. There are a lot of people that say, don't read your code. You don't care about it. It's something that needs to be done by machines. You can throw the machine requirements and expect the output, and that's it. You can check this through engineering, so I can put rules to the AI to follow to be sure that things are going to be more or less fine. And also I can have my own test and I can check that the behavior is the expected one. I can do a lot of that, no? But so basically all of that is for telling you don't read the code. The problem is like if you don't read the code, you don't know what has been done. You don't have details that perhaps are irrelevant or perhaps they are important. I don't know if you have been in clients or applications that you were thinking something was irrelevant and later was the bigger mistake that you did in the code. I've been a lot of times in that situation where I was thinking, this time to live in the cache is going to be not important. And later it was like the cause of a lot of bugs or things that were causing problems, no? The problem with details is that you don't know what's important and what's not important until something is important. That's the bad part of life. So, and what I'm trying to say is like, you don't need to know all the details because that's impossible. I don't know everything of the current client I'm working on. I don't know everything, but I have enough knowledge of the system to understand how to evolve it. When I need to do some changes, I can go and do them, or I can ask the person that knows. I have a network of people that knows enough so that I can use them to understand how to solve problems. No,
you're talking about the mental model, right?
It's the mental model. It's like that. No, there are people that says that the mental model that you generate in your brain is more important than the code.
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to say that, perhaps that's too much, but there are people that say that, and from a long time ago, it's not something new. It's like the important part, I don't remember this essay, but there was one that was saying that is crucial to be able to evolve the application, that the people that are more important in companies are the ones that understand better the system. And that's, in some way, it's true. I don't know if that's the more important thing, but it's a thing. No? So with all of this, just I wanted to say it's like this. It's like, okay, the problem that we have if we don't read the code is that we are going to have too much knowledge depth. And if I have too much knowledge depth, I'm not able to change my system to a different direction, to change the design, to change the architecture, no? You could say it doesn't matter, that's not so important. The problem is, like, I think it's the more important thing in software, because let's think about Google or Microsoft or whatever. Do you think they have the same architecture that 20 years ago? No. And why? Because they have problems and they were like trying to solve those problems. And the people that are taking the actions to change things is people, it's not the machine. The machine don't feel pain if the response time of a query is 3 seconds on 25. You feel that pain. So you are going to be the one that needs to change it. But for doing that, you need to understand at least why that's happening. And you could say that's not the problem. I can react to problems in production continually. And do you think that's the last responsible moment, or are we very far from the last responsible moment if we do that? So the point for me is, like, if you agree with me that you need to know enough from the system, and you agree with me that you need to read the code, we have to find a way to be in the loop of the development. Because you could say, no, it's not needed. I can read the code after things has been done. And could be a solution. But then if we try to do that, if we read the code once one thing is done, how good are you reading code of hundreds of changes? Are we good on that or bad?
But when you say we need to read the code, it is the whole code, because now when you delegate everything to AI, we can see only the result and not the process. But
Yeah.
when you try the baby step, sometimes some guys say, okay, you can also only read the test, the intent, and not the implementation now with AI, because we have not prompt engineering, but context engineering, harness engineering, and in this case, do we need also to read the implementation part?
And this is the point. It's like, the question is, if you have a bug in production and someone calls you at 3 a.m. in the morning, and they tell you, hey, we have this issue in production, what are you going to do at that moment? You could say, I can ask AI to answer my question. But you know that devil is in the details. What happens if at that moment, I don't know, Claude is offline, or you don't have the proper internet connection, or anything happens, or you don't have tokens because you spend all of them? What happens in that case? You are alone, no? And my point is, like, do you want to take the risk of not understanding at all a system in that situation when you have pressure on top of you to solve it? It's up to everyone. If you don't want to know anything, that's fine. But take into account that you are taking a big risk. That's basically, you are not being able to answer in this kind of situation, but also you are not able to evolve the system to the correct direction. I'm not saying that you need to read everything, but not reading the code at all, it's probably a big mistake.
But it's how we can do that with the pace of AI without being overwhelmed. Yeah. But we have a question from Eric. You can open your mic if you want directly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you kind of spoke to it already, but I was kind of saying in the chat that like, I'm working on a lot of projects where I use like Codex for help, and I am knowledgeable about like software engineering, the life cycle, and that's my job. And I don't believe you have to understand all the code it generates. I think as long as, for me, like, you know how to verify, test, assess performance, then I think to me, that's been enough to do what I need to do and to like make sure it's secure and everything. Because yeah, like, I mean, my Codex projects have generated, multiples of thousands of lines of code, and there's no way that I'm going to look at all of that, as long as the UI is working, like, the backend's working, and I know how to assess the quality. That's enough for me, at least.
I'm not saying that you have to read all the code and that you don't need to understand all the code, but probably you need to, and probably you do that when you have a function that's core in your system. I don't know, for payments or whatever, anything that's core. I'm pretty sure you know how it works, and you are not delegating to a third party and not reading at all the solution of that. What I'm saying is like not in all the parts of your code probably you need to have 100% of knowledge of what's done. But in core parts, you need to know a lot, because if not, you are taking a big risk of having a problem and not knowing how to solve it. So I don't know, but this is not new. If you think about DDD, in domain-driven design, you have this idea of domains, core domains, subdomains, generic domains. No, do you remember that? And usually what people suggest is like for generic domains, buy something, buy software or whatever, a generic solution. So you don't care about basically that's the same. What I'm saying is like, you don't care about how is that implemented. It's doing the job. It's good enough. That's it. For subdomains, not core domains, perhaps you can do something similar if it's not super important. But in the core of your application, the business that you have, are you going to take a risk of not understanding? I'm not saying that you need to write the code. I'm saying that are you going to take the risk of not understanding what has been done more than just the business rules, the performance?
Yeah. And specifically for the payment systems, it's interesting you brought that up, because for one of my personal projects, I think I've integrated, 2 payment systems. And like what I do a lot is I have it look into like the documents of each API, and I ask it questions about like, why is it doing this? Why is it doing that? How can this be like hacked? And, I kind of use like conversation to help me understand, instead of having to like know exactly what that code is doing in itself. And that, it led me, I have successfully integrated it. And it's just so interesting. Like the paradigm is so different with these tools. You can just kind of talk to it, and as long as you're curious and you say, how do you test this and everything, it really works well.
And this is the point. You need to find a way to reduce the gap of knowledge. That's my point with this. It's like you need to find a way. What's the way? I don't know. What's the more effective way? I'm going to suggest one, because I'm not sure that reading the code after reading 100 of files of changes, it's the more effective one. Gary, go, please.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think is interesting that keeps coming back as software developers have been exploring working with these tools, and you can say AI. The more I've learned about it, the more I keep looking at saying, this is an LLM that's stateless with a bunch of context. AI is more of a marketing term. That's, However, the thing that I keep going back to and hearing different responses and different perspectives is, I think the struggle it feels like right now is that we've got an internal conflict regarding delegation versus abdication, right? Are we delegating certain work, even in an agentic level, with specifying things, with, like you said, people have taught you spec-driven development. At what point does that look like abdicating our responsibility for those outcomes? That's the prickly thorn for me, because it seems like we've got different camps and different perspectives of people saying the tools are good enough that we can abdicate and make them write their own tests and write their own assertions. And I think in some cases it's been a matter of scope and personal experience. and personal skill set regarding how successfully, perhaps, some people have been able to abdicate the responsibility. I might argue, with my own biases, at a certain level of risk, versus those of us that have a concern regarding, I want to use these tools to delegate, and I still want to keep a tight rein. And so I feel like in a lot of cases, a lot of the dialogue that's going on right now is really a question of where do we want to work as an industry on that scale? Delegation, strict checking, strict monitoring, strict output, or level of abdication with the idea that we will trust in the guardrails. And my own personal bias, I'm definitely more towards the delegation so far. I've been playing with some abdication, but with the old trust but verify from the KGB days, right? I still find that when I've looked in, I've had concerns, even with small little projects and whatnot. So maybe it's a pendulum. It's going to be interesting to see where the direction goes, but that's kind of my own perspective in summary on this.
And it's perfectly the point that I wanted to do here. It's like that. It's a trade-off. You are selecting risks by velocity. So choose the thing that you want to optimize, no?
And also a sub risk is if you can't if you delegate everything, you can't teach to something else, and you lose the opportunity to build a collective mental knowledge with a team also. Yeah.
That's it. Basically, imagine a team that does not know anything about the code that has been working on. That's a possibility. That's what we are talking about here. And you could say, but that's not the thing. I don't know if you are developers or not, or I'm guessing a lot of people has been here for a while working in teams and so on. So what happened in a team before when someone in business has a question asking for something that was asked 2 months ago? Who are they asking to? They are asking developers. And this is the interesting part for me, that developers are, in majority of the teams that I have been, I don't know how to call it, the keepers of the history of the applications. And why this happens? Because they build it. So this is the point. When you are not building things, you lose them very easily, even if you grow out the requirements that needs to follow. I've been in a lot of teams that people that were writing the criteria that they have to implement were asking me where was those criteria, and I was able to tell them. So this is the thing, that when the learning process is something, this pyramid of learning, no? These things about if you read something, you forget about it in 2 days. If you teach something, you are able to maintain that. No, this is if you write something, so there are levels. So it's true that the level of knowledge that developers have about the system that we're building is much higher than anyone else in a company, usually. I don't know. It depends on each one and the context and all of that. In some way, we are moving developers to a higher level, and you are going to start feeling the problems of the people that delegate to others, no? Ken Beck says this, that we have, I like this approach, that we have waiters and people that are able to do things. Do we want to convert ourselves in waiters? It's true that we are going to wait seconds or minutes, but we are going to be in that scenario. It's also the same that happens to architects. Architects that don't usually are very in touch with code have this feeling that they need to find a way to maintain the knowledge about what has been done. No, I've been there, so I know that it's a real thing. So if the whole team is in that situation, we have a problem, and probably we have to find a way to solve that problem. In my view, but this is my personal view, it's not that this doesn't mean is the solution. In my view, the solution is maintaining in the loop. maintaining developers in the loop, not being just reviewers of the code of the AI. You could say, that means that I'm going to be slower. Yes, that's for me sometimes the answer. The answer is not always, I know that we are in love with velocity of LLMs, but I don't care. And this is probably one thing that we need to understand is like the maximum velocity that's interesting for one company to go to develop things is like the velocity accepted by the system itself. So if I'm able to create a Slack in 5 minutes, but I need to review it for 2 months, it doesn't matter if I'm building a Slack in 2 months and I don't review it, but I know the same, and I'm building this during that time, than doing it in 5 minutes and reviewing it in 2 months. I don't know if I'm getting what I'm trying to say is like the problem is not generating the code. The problem is like all the things that needs to be done to put something in production and being sure that's going to work. That's the whole system. It's like the lead time since you develop something until it's in prod, and you are sure that's going to work. So, and that could involve you, QAs, whatever, I don't know, reviewers, product people, could be a lot of roles involved on that. So the time to generate things is important, but it's not the bottleneck in the process usually. So for me, it's like if you have the possibility to slow down to a level that you can accept, that the system can accept, that's the correct level. There is no value on trying to create everything in 5 minutes. If you are later going to multiply the number of bugs or the number of problems, or you are not going to learn anything about the process. So you can slow down. That means that you can slow down reviewing the code. Yeah, it's an option. People can do that. I think it's better for us in general as humans to be involved and learning from doing. And that means that I need to be able to review in smaller steps than the steps that LLMs can do. But needs to be big enough to have a benefit, because if not, why I'm doing this? No? Why the change? Why to change to a machine writing things? Yeah, I was trying to read this. Another concern may also be the business force are in the process of moving headlock into the Durman fallacy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you're familiar, the link is a brief little write-up, but the basic concept is years and years ago, efficiency experts take a look at hotels and realize, why are you paying this human to stand and open the door and greet people? And what they didn't recognize is that the task or the visible role that was most associated with the occupation was just the surface level of the responsibility and the capability that was really being provided to the organization by that worker, right? Because the doorman didn't just open the door. He remembered people. He built relationships. He helped hail cabs. And in a lot of ways, in that comparison, to me, it feels like there's a close similarity potential of people saying, you're just turning specifications into code the computer can run. And the LLM can do that now. Why do we need to pay you to turn the specification into code? Why do we need to pay you to open the door? The irony of gatekeeping also in terms of opening and closing a door and comparing that to programming is also an interesting note, but that's off to the side. Being a gatekeeper and blocking the door. But still, I think that particularly because of what we've suffered for so long as a profession, and this is my own personal issue with being part of the Agile world, being an XP promoter, an XP supporter, is that it feels like that whole notion that Kent Beck had of trying to heal the divide between business and technologists hasn't happened. And that we're still looked at order takers. We still don't have a place at the table, which means if you want to go and apply that potential fallacy to the role that we're in the same position as the doorman, and the business still doesn't understand what we do, what it is that we're providing, and the potential outcome of where that goes on that scale of abdicate or delegate. Yeah. So.
And that's true. The problem is like, I have the feeling if you see what's happening in the world, it's like in a lot of companies, in software companies, in internet, there are a lot of bugs now. There are a lot of things that are not working well, that they are broken. No? GitHub, you can see GitHub and how much time they are up and down and all of that, but also with Copilot. And this is the point. It's like people are trying to find the trade-off. Right now, I think we are very in love with velocity. And the physics of software are going to stop that and start making people to stop, to reduce the velocity of what you were building. Last year, vibe coding was great. No? Everyone wanted to do vibe coding and all of that. This year, we are talking about harness engineering, about having better railways. So to make it slower, that's what we are doing. If you think Copilot was able to do a lot of stuff before without telling you anything, and now they are explaining a lot of things. Claude the same. So we are slowing the LLMs. That's what's happening, and I think we are not yet in the right position. If you use Codex, you have a big plan and it's explaining you, and it's taking a long time to do a big plan just to allow you to be involved. We are moving in the direction of making people to be involved with what's happening and take decisions about the point. No? For me, that's the thing that we have to understand. What's the correct batch size, basically? What's the correct size for allowing the delegation to the LLMs versus being able to understand what has been done and review it? We know that 2,000 files, it's impossible. 2 files, 10 files, 25 files, I don't know. What's possible? That's for me the trade-off, and that's what I think we need to understand how to do it.
So, in addition, just because we have a comment from Javier Sanchez, the cost is also increasing because the cloud changes pricing in June. And also in my previous meetup, we did a demo, and we had a partial outage from cloud. So we need to keep the control, because if we are fully dependent on vendor locking, it's a good idea to keep the control also. Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, the answer to this is not just, you could say, I can use different, I can have Claude, Copilot, and more. No, but also you have your mind. You remember to write code, no? There are people that sometimes it's funny to me because there are people that says, I don't have more tokens, so I cannot work more. Why? You can still write things, no?
Yeah.
You don't remember your past. I don't know that if we are making ourselves too dependent of a technology. That's a great technology. I'm not going to say that's not. But hey, we were developers 3 months ago. Eric?
Another additional thought regarding that, regarding the cost impact in terms of models becoming more expensive. Kind of a two-parter. One, I kind of find it fascinating if you take a look in terms of the Mag 7, right? In terms of the American stock market and the high-performing companies, Meta, Google, Microsoft, the usual suspects. The one out of 7 that's not racing to build data centers is Apple, from the notion that they may have an idea around customized and locally running models on the M5 chips, on the hardware, and the race, even what DeepSeek has done recently, because of the restrictions that we put on China the fact that they figured out how to do different strategies for training and weighting their models that have really driven down cost. I think the combination of those and with the token issue brings in a question of, we've been accepting these harnesses. People have largely been swapping out different models a lot, right? Oh, I ran out of tokens on Claude. I'm going to switch over to Codex, or, maybe I'll do something on a free model. But one of the things that we haven't done too much more is start to dig in and ask ourselves what a harness is and what we can possibly use. And I think, to your point, Javier, in terms of leaning more towards guidance than a certain level of abdication, that if you can imagine an idea of someone like JetBrains sitting down and saying, we're going to give you full control of an adaptive harness that says you, the user, get to say what the context is. We talk about agents burning tokens and reading and rereading stuff. What if you could restrict what got passed off to the model and say, I'm going to check this package directory in my hexagonal architecture because I'm just doing domain work. And I just want you to look at these elements and maybe some of the related things from my platform, if it's Python or Java or whatever. How many tokens could be saved for a type of harness that actually gave the user more control over what the model was doing? And I think it may be kind of an interesting question in the next 6 to 18 months. People have been going wild and interchanging models. People haven't been going off and looking and asking questions about the harnesses and how to control those models. And if the costs go up, those questions may become a lot more important.
And this is the point. This is the point of having good code, because good code usually means not just for machines, but also for humans, less cognitive load. And that means to understand easily things and to be able to change it easily. That's the point of having good code, nothing else. So the point for me is like, if you need to care about the code because it needs to be something that's financially good, I don't know how to say that, then it's better to have better code. What means better? I don't know, but it means that probably you need to care and to understand what has been done. Because if not, you don't know, these micro decisions that happen when you are writing code are those things that later are difficult to change. Probably you don't care about if the AI is using MVC or hexagonal architecture. I don't know. Perhaps it's something that we can discuss. But other things, interface definitions are something that probably you need to care. So you need to be there. You cannot allow AI to create soap if you want to have a REST API, or creating a REST API with strange things inside, no? And this is just the thing that I wanted to share. Let's see if I can.
Yeah, yes. We can continue after the 1 hour, but just in addition, maybe in another next meetup, a friend of mine will create yesterday a green craft manifesto also, in order to have sustainable code and tips for this. So go ahead, Javier.
Thank you. That's great. That's great. Basically, it's the same thing that we were talking here. Let's try to do this. We don't need to finish at all. It's not important to finish. I just wanted to show you that I was creating for the Mars rover kata. This is the kata. This is a README that we are going to use to explain the AI that what we want to do. The kata is very simple. It's basically you are in the Mars rover mission. That was this engine that was in Mars trying to, and you have the possibility to send some commands to the Mars rover, and move it forward, backward, left, and right, depending if the rover is facing north, south, east, or west. So it's and you can move the Mars rover around Mars surface. No, that's the idea of the kata. It's a simple thing. And later it's more and more complicated. The first things are just move it. Later you have to understand that's a sphere, and you have edge, so that if in a map the position 1 is like the same one than the opposite, no, all of these things that you have. So let's go and let's try. I was also telling Copilot, I was creating these agents that basically the way to work and the function and the handless functions that I'm going to use to follow in a direction, to show you what happens if I try to tell AI to run it. So basically, I'm telling Copilot to run this in TDD style. So red, green refactor. We have to, it needs to create a test that's red, later needs to pass it, and later it's going to refactor. But I'm just asking the AI to ask me for feedback in two phases. One phase is going to be when the test is red, and the other one is going to be when for refactor. And why I'm saying that? Because when you are red, and this is my way of saying I'm in the loop of development. I'm not going to write code, but I'm going to be in the loop. This is the way that I have to make AI to change the direction if something is not like what I want. From the things that are important, and from me, the things that are important are the definition of the APIs. That's important, and I don't think it's less than that. I don't think nothing is more important than API's definition. So red is going to solve that and the first phase, because the test is going to show me how the AI wants to call my endpoints and all of that. And refactor is the way that I have to change like the direction of the design. So that's why I'm going to ask this. Basically, I'm going to tell the AI, please go and do the kata. And let's see what's happening. This is also interesting. What are you doing when this is doing their stuff? Are you waiting, reading something, or? So it's doing something. Let's see. Now what we are going to do is like checking what has been done for the test. And with that, we have the opportunity to give feedback. Let's see if you think it's, don't focus too much on the code itself. Let's focus on what you think it's important in software. Not so much about, other things that are perhaps more opinions, no? It's creating a kind of main class because my project didn't have anything. So it's like creating, it's going to be an Spring Boot project in Kotlin. And it's trying to create a post with an endpoint that's API rovers ID. And that's going to return a 210 with the rover state. So basically this is trying to create like the initial position of the rovers in Mars. And we can check what has been done. This is the test that AI has been created. It's everything red because I'm forcing them to have it. So let's focus on this. What do you think? Is that right? Do you like how the test has been written? Do you usually, I can increase the font.
It's in Kotlin, yeah.
It's Kotlin.
Yeah.
Kotlin is simple to read. This given thing, it's like a mock. So it's saying that when you call initialize rover use case with the initialize method, with that ID, rover ID 23 north, and that's like the limits of the sphere. you will return a rover state in that position, and I'm expecting to see in the post, if I call that one, this response. What do you think? Do you like this API or not?
I like it given when then or act around.
Yeah, the test is fine, but think about the API. So the endpoint, we are calling API rovers rover1, the content and the response. Do you like the content and the URL, the content and the response? Go to the details. The general structure is fine. I like it, yeah, but what happened with the details?
It's not a baby step, you know?
No, it doesn't matter. No, don't forget about if it's a baby step or not. It's a step. So the bad side is this one. Fine. But there are some decisions taken by the AI that I was not telling anything. One of them is like in the API, it's saying, I want to have API rover one. So it's AI is thinking that there are more than one rover. And I'm going to maintain more than one rover. Is that right? Is that wrong? I don't know. I was not specifying that. That's not specifying the README. It was an assumption from the AI. Do I want that? Yes or no?
Mm-hmm.
It's working. It's going to work for 1 and for 2 and for 3. But do you want it? Do you want to have like the possibility of having multiple rovers or not? Or is accidental complexity? Think about that. It's a question. Another thing that I don't like at all is this okay. Why do you have an okay if this is a post endpoint against HTTP and I have a 200 or a 400? I have response code. Why I need okay? No, I'm saying that needs to be 201. And this is the point that I wanted to explain, that just in one test, in the first one that I was creating, AI was able to take decisions that I was not aware. That I'm accepting because seems right. Because it's true, it's right. But it's more complex than what I want to build. And we know that as much things you have, more code you have to maintain, more difficult is to work on that.
Yeah, and you have the knowledge to identify this point, but people, non-technical people, can't see those details. Yeah.
Yeah, but also think about if we were like having a lot the whole thing done, probably I was losing these details.
Yeah.
The discussion for me then is it's changed a little, and it's more like when you are explaining things and you have a team of people doing different stuff, you accept people doing things in different ways, but you have a normal understanding of what's good and what's bad, no? So you have to have the same with AI. If for me it's important, accidental complexity, or if it's important not doing jackness, it's still important when AI is building the code. It's not just that I lost that. It's important in both cases. If it's important formatting the code, it's important formatting the code in both cases. Perhaps formatting the code is something that I can do with a hook, whatever. But what I'm trying to say is like, you cannot say, and this is something I've read a lot, people saying, yeah, we were not so good writing code. Yeah, perfect. But I want to be, at least the AI needs to be as good as me, not less me, not worse than me, because if not, I have more problems, no? I don't want to have problems. I want to live better. Okay, so I have the opportunity now to change that. I could say, I don't like too much. Probably this is not the best prompt, but I just want to explain how the API looks like. There are no multiple rovers. It will be only one. So you don't need the rover ID. Not in the post. Not in the use case initialize method. And also don't return status at all in the body of the create of the post. Okay, let's see.
But in contract first approach, with the open API, we can think about the contract. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's true that you can think always on more upfront design, more upfront design. You can always go in that direction. But you are not. I think you have to understand that you cannot define everything up front. That needs to be that problems arise at some point when you are developing. So it's better to. I have the feeling that's better to try to solve them at that moment.
Yeah, and you're completely right. If you delegate on the cloud, you have a big pull request, so we can't catch all details like this. Yeah.
So for me, the discussion here should be like, what's the bad side? How big is the step that they can do, so that I'm able to review it and to take direction? And if for me it means to be more close to the decisions taken inside the code, for other people could be another thing. But it's not. I think it's not a good idea trying to abdicate the code to the AI. I don't know. I can go to green and we can close this here. If you want to have any question, that's fine.
Yeah, and we can avoid, by being close to the code, we can avoid premature optimization and something like that.
Yeah, you have more possibilities. The point is like, in that scenario that I'm putting here, you are slower than if you have big budgets. That's true. But that's so important. That's my question. My question is like, are you trying to do things as we are trying to do right now with agents, code, and so are we going faster or are we slowing down? Because in general, not coding, typing, yes, but think about the whole process, going to prod.
And by being close to the code, we can organize some mob session or something like that. But if you delegate everything on the cloud, I think you can't. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So please, questions or things that you want to talk about.
So
more, because we were talking enough.
Gary?
So I had a quick question. It kind of went back to you had made the comment about not wanting the body to come back, and my rest is rusty, rhyming and pun not intended because I'm not a Rust programmer. But I was wondering, it's like, okay, so you're doing a post, and the check in there is created, and I did a quick lookup, and I think that the typical response for is created is returning an HTTP 201, and by convention it returns back the body of what was done, because, for example, the fact that it has ID of 1 would not have been something you sent in. So what's interesting is that you said that you didn't want the body. Did it go and just take out the body? Or did it actually, as a pair programmer would have, gone on, checked on the phone or the internet when it's going and said, hang on a minute, you're doing a creation act, and by standard rest, you should actually see that body.
Yeah,
but let you take it out, didn't it? Because you told it to.
Yeah, but the point is like, if you are doing pairing, it's what's happening, no? Usually people do things and you realize that's not the best way, and you can give them feedback. So it's not that you need to explain, you need to solve this. I can give you feedback. That's why in the phases I was telling the LLM to ask me for feedback. It's not that I'm going to tell you what to do. You are going to decide, but I can correct the decision. So for me, that's more the point. It's like you have multiple options, and when you are pairing, probably, and you are not dictating what needs to be done to the driver. You are more like waiting until something is done, or the direction or the explanation of the other person, and then you give them some feedback and you agree on something. No? That's the intention of this. I have the feeling that's much efficient than what we are doing right now, because it's helping me to understand what's happening, what's wrong, what's right, to learn from the process, and to be able to do bigger steps faster. What's my problem? I'm bad typing. What's good? LLMs are good typing. So let's use that. But why do I need to delegate all the decisions in their side without understanding them? I want to understand them. I want to correct them if they are wrong.
I think some of the friction too is recognizing and stepping back overall what parts of our work are delegation and boilerplate and what parts are exploration and learning. And a lot of the challenge that we feel in terms of pushing back, or at least I know I feel, is where am I making a trade-off, or am I aware that I'm making a trade-off?
That's true, and that's why I selected TDD, because TDD, even if people don't believe me, is a micro-specification framework. You are specifying what you have to do through a test. Just that, yeah, there are a lot of, it's perhaps if you write the test, it's too hard, and you can delegate this in the AI. Yeah, I can give you the business point of view and you build it, but please build a test that I can understand what's going to happen. So that's for me one of the interesting points, that you have the ability there to see the decision that was taken before creating production code and change the directions of that decision if it's not right. How big or how small is the step is another thing. When you are doing TDD, you can select doing super big tests, end-to-end test. You can do TDD with end-to-end tests if you want. Decide what important is, like understanding the intermediate parts inside your code or not.
Do you have some question from attendees? Can open all mic. No?
Someone was asking, can you prompt properly with the right context if you don't know the implementation details? Yeah, I think you can, but it's, yeah, if at least it's clear the business, what you want to achieve, that part, and this is the difficult part, perhaps, understanding what you know versus what you don't know, what you really can implement now and what you need to investigate. But that was the same before. When you have, I love TDD, but that's me. And because it helps me to understand what I really know. If I'm trying to create a test, I'm not able to write it, I don't have enough details to write that test, so that cannot be done. I have to find another thing that I know. But that's give me the possibility to ask, to investigate what can be solved here. No, that's for me the framework. Doing everything up front is very difficult. And I know that people are in love with this, but no, it doesn't work. Sorry. Big upfront design is something that doesn't work for 40 years. We are trying this once and again, and it's not working. A spec-driven design, it works. But you need to understand that you cannot specify everything. You cannot do big batches. How big is the batch? Depending on what you know. If you know everything, do it in a big batch. If you know what is a Slack, do a Slack. But if you don't know, don't do it, because it's going to be a pain for you.
It's a trade-off. You have a lack of knowledge or the full knowledge. So thank you so much for this truly interesting
I have a
topic.
question.
Yeah.
Sorry. Just a last question I was waiting for. So I have like two questions. So first question is the maintenance of the code, like making a code that is maintainable means that we can modify it, we can review it, we can share it, we can talk about it, and we can add some features on it. That's one thing. So if you do vibe coding versus you do it yourself, or I mean, what kind of control, what type of control you want to keep for yourself if you want to make your code maintainable? The second question is the reproduction of the code, like make it reproducible. means that I use it today for one use case. Tomorrow I have a different use case. I have a different client maybe, or I have different things. So I need to rewrite the whole app, but this time different data and different, maybe add some other features. So how can I make sure that my code will be reproducible in, for my new case? Thank you.
Good question, but that's engineering, no? I don't know. It's basically the architecture. We are talking about that. The main thing that code needs to have is being able to be changed easily, because that's software. If not, you are not doing software. You are doing hardware. There is no value at all of doing a code that you cannot change. So the main thing that your code needs to have is being easy to change. If it's not easy to change, it's basically useless. You will end with something that's like I don't know, a computer. My mouse, I cannot change it at all. And so how, I don't know, this is in my experience, the easiest way to make code to change is changing it. So if you change the code once and again, you iterate over that, you need to find better abstractions. You need to care about code, because if not, you are going to duplicate and creating a mess. And this is what's happening, no? What's the common architecture in software right now? The spaghetti code, no? That's the more used architecture everywhere. So, but everyone knows that's the problem, because at some point it's so difficult to introduce anything that you have to rewrite everything, no? The point of architecture, of design, of all of that is trying to move that moment to the future as much as you can. You know that it's going to be super difficult to maintain code that was done 20 years ago, but it's dramatically economically a failure to rewrite an application that has 1 or 2 years. That's the risk that we have right now with AI, because the velocity that you are building things, it's also introducing so many noise. That's not saying that AI is writing bad code, not saying that. It doesn't matter. You could be the better programmer in the world. But if you add more feature, the system is going to collapse because of the complexity that contains. Everything is going to be duplicated. So what's the solution? What solution do we have for that? Refactoring the code, trying to create better abstractions, no? Doing a smaller steps, all of that is what we have been doing for a while, trying to avoid that. With AI is a great tool to refactor. So for me, the main benefit of AI should be paying the technical debt that you have in the past, not creating new features with AI. I know that everyone loves AI to create new features, and everyone thinks that greenfield projects are great, but usually you are not in greenfield projects.
But the prerequisite is to still know what is good or bad.
Yeah, for sure. You need to care about software. You need to know what's good, what's bad, and understand that. No, there are a lot of things. When I'm always saying, people are always complaining about TDD. For example, telling you, with TDD design is not good. You don't know. The one that design is you, not TDD, obviously. But this is the same with LLMs. The one that design is you, not the LLM. There is no responsibility on a machine doing something. It's your responsibility.
Yes, but
if you don't care, you don't care.
It's my message for junior developer also. You need to continue to learn in depth what is a good code.
Yeah, that's probably the main thing now. Understanding what's good and what's bad.
Sure.
But yeah, to your question, that's not easy. That's what the software industry has been doing for the whole time, no? Understanding, trying to solve problems to make code easy to change. But still we are in the space that we are.
And we need to continue to be an advocate on that, because now big boss want more layoff, because of AI, and so it's an issue in the industry now. Yeah. So thank you so much,
Thank
Javier.
you.
I stop the recorded. Yeah.